Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED, and this is Q5 Ham Radio. I'm joined once again by the contest crew, Bill, W9KKN, Dan, N6MJ, Chris, KL9A, and hopefully Randy, K5ZD, will be joining us soon. With a CQ Worldwide single sideband just around the corner, we're diving into final preparations, who's operating where, the strategies taking shape, and what to expect when the bands light up for the biggest weekend in radio sport. Q5 is brought to you by DX Engineering, your complete source for contest-grade gear, antennas, and station accessories. Dan, would you please kick us off?
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, we're definitely gearing up for CQ Worldwide. We're super excited. The three of us on the call here, as we've mentioned before, we're all going to end up at CQ9A in Zone 33. We're going to be doing a very serious multi-single, and it's going to be one of those things where we're working together with some of the European guys that are they know what they're doing in the multi-single realm. And, we like to think that we know what we're doing too, but I know for a fact that we're going to learn a lot from them. Certainly looking forward to that aspect of it. And I'm hoping that they're going to be able to learn a few things from us too. And it's one of those different kind of operations, I would say, in the fact that, a lot of times when we go do these things, it's always just like with our close friends, which is really great. But this time, we're kind of branching out a little bit. And I'm looking forward to that.
So, Dan, I've heard this from Chris also, that you two expect to learn a lot from the crew that is there. Tell me more about that. What do you expect to learn that the three of you don't already know?
I would say for North America, the three of us here probably have a lot of experience with multi-single in the European ways of things. What I mean by that is, when a European station does a serious multi-single, they don't just set up a single radio or two radios. It's usually 4 or 5 or 6 radios, right? And so there's not a lot of stations like that in North America. Now we've done some of that. We've done that quite a bit from ZF1A with me and Bill. And for a multi-single, we'd have 4 radios set up, so it's kind of similar. We'd have a run radio, an in-band radio, and then a couple of mult radios, right? So we know how to do those things, but the Europeans kind of take it to the next level. We're going to have basically 6 stations in CT3, so we're already maximizing what's available. And I think the goal, according to Val, is that all 6 stations should be manned for the whole contest, and it's just a matter of understanding how they see, I think mostly on the run side, what they do and what they do differently. Because basically what they're going to end up having us do is we're going to have a couple guys listening to the run frequency, and each guy is going to be listening to different antennas so that they can theoretically pull out different call signs out of the pileup. And that's not something that we normally do. And that's something that I'm looking forward to trying out.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. We're used to just, Dan and I have this motto: let everybody call at one time, and we'll just work them. If you can gain 5 Qs an hour by having another guy there listening in a weird direction and picking different calls out, that's worth it. These multi-singles in Europe and Africa, like the P33W guys, those scores are within 1% at the end of the contest. And any little bit they can gain is going to be advantageous. So it'll be cool. We've all done multi-single. We've all done in-band. One thing we've always done is we've had audio sharing between the in-band guy. I don't believe we have that this time because there's just so much going on. There's a cadence you have to get. The run-op has to kind of time his stuff differently, and the mult guys have to be able to work around that. I don't know. It'll be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, that part of it's going to be amazing, but hanging out with everybody is going to be a really great experience too.
So as the new guy with the naive questions, Bill, technically, how does that work, having 6 radios?
So really, at the end of the day, it's a lot of cascaded AB switches and a interlock system and several different receive antenna switches, and I mean, there's a number of ways that you can implement such a thing. I'm sort of hoping to take a good look at sort of what worked for them and what didn't work, and get an idea of what it would take to maybe do similar things at some of the other stations that I work on. I'm also very excited about the fact that Valery and his team of technical guys have already sort of solved all the integration issues before I show up, which is just totally crazy to me that I'm going to walk in and everything will theoretically be working. And I'm kind of excited to just be able to go there and enjoy the contest with Dan and Chris and some of these new ham friends that in no other hobby in the world can you quite recreate this exact situation. So I'm just it's going to be a different continent, different propagation, different lots of maybe just different nuances of the strategy that are going to be surprising, and I think I'll learn a whole lot about how this all kind of comes together. And again, I hope that they learn something from us, but we'll see.
So just to be clear, you guys are just packing luggage. You're not bringing any gear at all.
That's exactly right. We'll bring a air mattress or keyboard or so, but we asked and he said no, I already got it, and don't worry about a thing. And normally we do have to worry about it.
So I guess I'm curious because I've talked to you guys enough to know that you all focus on some pretty intense preparation before a contest. And in this case, are you just going and expecting Valery to come up with a plan?
So our job is to show up and, be prepared as far as propagation, where we should be at what time, how to run fast, and learn stuff. So for our part, we're learning, we're going through logs. We have a group chat going where we're talking about strategy and where we should be at what time. And of course, that's all subject to being told that we're wrong and listening to the guys that know, because, they've been there and that's what they do. So we're going to be prepared as prepared as we can. All of us can run guys. All of us can work guys on the mult stations. So not a ton of preparation, really, which is awesome. Now, that's on our side. On their side, those guys have been there for weeks and weeks and weeks, putting up new towers and new antennas and, doing just a ton of stuff. And they'll be working right up until we get there. So the preparation for us is simple. Valery and his guys have been working their butts off, morning, noon, and night, which we really appreciate.
Yeah, we've definitely all seen that on social media for sure. Chris, you've been there already. Are you at all concerned about the language barrier with some of the teammates?
No, I don't think so. Their English is way better than I only speak English, so they're already got a leg up on me. No, it'll be fine. And if there's a language barrier at all, we'll figure it out.
Well, and we'll be hopefully helpful in pulling out some of the North America calls, because that's a volume direction for them, and we'll do as much as we can with that, and they can help us with some of the European calls, or the guys that'll only call in Russian or whatever it might be. Right? There's going to be a lot of situations that are sort of new to us in this operation.
I think one of the things that we're doing a little bit differently that we would like is we're all kind of arriving a little bit later in the week than we really want to. I think we all arrive on Thursday, at least the three of us here. And arriving on Thursday for a contest that starts on Friday is a little bit of a risk. But like they've been saying, the station's all set up, so that's one thing. But it's always good as a guest operator to have some time to actually learn the station, because that thing is pretty complex. So that's one of the things that I'm slightly worried about. It's going to be fine in the end, but that's one thing that's on my mind is like, shoot, we're going to get there Thursday afternoon. We got to learn the station by Friday. Usually when I go in and do a contest like this, I want to, make a couple thousand cues before the contest starts. That's not going to happen. So we're going to have to, really buckle down and focus on what we're doing for the little bit of time that we have prior to the contest.
And do you guys have a sense of who the competitors are in the multi-single category?
Everyone. I think probably the main guys that freaking do it right, P33W will probably be on. Man, that's a tough nut to crack, and they're not even in 3-point land. I'm not sure who else is on, but I wish there was 100.
So for the mere mortals that are going to get on and do a single operator effort, what's your advice for them?
To prep, I would do the same thing. Look at logs, figure out what your goals are. If you're looking for competing against your buddy down the road, or if you want to increase the score from last year, this is the year for big totals if the sun doesn't puke all over the place. 10 and 15 and 20 should be open great. Usually in high sunspot years, 40 is fantastic. The low bands have not been terrible. So it could be a good all around time to maximize everything. But to prep, I would just say look at your goals. If your goal is QSOs, stay on 10 meters, and everyone will be there.
Test your station out. Start figuring out all the quirks, and you've got basically a week to put your order into DX Engineering to get the part that you need. So go, or Mouser or DigiKey or whatever you're looking for, man.
Yeah, and I think that we're close enough to the contest now that getting on the air, testing things out, not just testing the station, but also testing propagation is a big thing. I've been doing that even here from California. If it's middle of the night, I'm getting bored, I'll head out to the shack and just throw the radio on and see what's happening on the bands right now. Because, I'm hoping that we do have good propagation, good 10 and 15. But you can really find that out by being on the air and seeing, what's happening at the moment. And it's probably worthwhile doing that too, along with all the other things that they mentioned.
And what have you heard about the single operator category, the big players there that are probably relishing the fact that you guys are off the board?
Well, we know the big one, of course, is going to be Brazzo at EF8R. I think his big competition is going to be Manu, LU9ESD. I believe, from what I understand, he's going to be in Hotel Charlie 8. I'm not sure if that's officially done or not. I know he's been talking about that. So that's going to be another major competitor. Outside of that, it's hard to say. I haven't really seen anybody else announce any other big operations. I'm sure they're going to be out there, but those are the two. I think those are probably going to be the two front runners that I'm aware of.
There's always someone that shows up. 8P5A will probably be on, and he's beat 3-point land guys before. Barbados is a great place for QSOs. He can have a zillion Qs. So that'll be really cool to see. I don't know, man. Single up, a lot of guys just kind of show up and sneak attack. So maybe something cool will show up.
Well, I did just interview Rich N6KT, and he's going to be at PJ4K.
Oh, very good. Yeah, he'll put in a huge score.
Well, there you go. That's the competition for EF8R, I promise you.
Yeah, he has a real shot at winning. No joke.
That'll be cool to watch on the scoreboard for sure.
Post to the scoreboard, make sure it works.
So speaking of EF8R, that takes us into CQ World Wide CW. How's that looking, Dan? I'm always curious to hear the update.
Yeah, it's kind of slow at the moment. Brazzo was at ISTRA contest thing over the weekend, so he was focused on that. So we haven't heard a lot from him over the last 5 or 6 days, which is understandable. But the big thing is he's going to show up down there on Friday, so that's coming up really, really quickly. And once he gets there, he's going to have to do all of the antenna work along with his team. And so we're just kind of waiting around to see how that plays out. Obviously, we all know here that Brazzo is incredible at what he does. He's going to pull it off one way or another. But we're just waiting to see all that come to fruition over this next week or so.
And Chris, it's got to be great for you to be able to be at CQ9A before your CW effort. And I have to mention, I interviewed Valery the other day, and that video has been watched 30,000 times. So CQ9A, the call sign, is certainly out there in the ham radio universe and beyond, apparently.
That was a great interview. It's cool to meet people from other parts of the world we'd never meet, and like Bill said, that's just a really cool thing that ham radio does. So going there for phone is good and bad, because Valery and I are going to discuss the setup and things for CW, but also my main competitor is going to be there, and hey, we don't want that. So we're going to kick Dan out of the shack. We're going to make him go do something else, supervised, so he doesn't, sabotage anything. And we'll get our game plan while Dan does something away from us. We've got a couple of ideas, nothing crazy. It all comes down to the operator in the end. Certainly in this case, the limiting station will be the operator, not the station. Having been there once, I can tell you that's a fact. So it'll be cool, but we'll make sure Dan doesn't get any of our secrets ahead of time.
And Bill, for CW, will you be at Vodafone?
Yep, that's the plan. We're going to do, I believe, a multi-2, and we're going to try to compete on as well as we can. We've got a good group of guys that are looking like they're going to make it, and once I get the whole team and we get a little closer, we'll talk about that. And we're very excited for that. Marty and I just a couple weeks ago went and visited the station because a lot of us are going to worldwide phone outside of the station. I don't think it's going to be on the air for phone, but for CW, we're planning on doing quite a lot this year. And in the trip last a couple weeks ago, we were able to repair a lot of things and check everything out, and we're pretty happy with how the station's running. We re-guide a tower, and that got rid of a lot of low interstation interference issues that we had, and we're just very happy with how everything's looking.
Well, guys, this is my third call tonight, so if you don't mind, I think we'll cut it a little bit short. But before we do, any final comments from any of the three of you?
Yeah, I've got one thing. Okay, one and a half things. One thing that I like about every year is, every year at the end of October, guys from around the world pack up their stuff, get on an airplane, and go to these exotic locations. And nowadays we get to see on social media these guys traveling and what they do to set up and how, the trials and tribulations they have and these problems they have. And in the past, you'd read about it in a magazine a year later. So I think that's really cool. We just spent another couple days at my station getting ready for K7NT to guest up, and he was there last year, and hopefully this year's even better. So another, it's just cool to see all the prep and all the work that guys put into it ahead of time. So when you work them, you can be like, oh, I saw these guys in 3B8 with their verticals on the beach, and now they're super loud on 80. That's super cool. I think that's really neat.
So, Randy, your timing is impeccable. Whenever I ask, is there any one last question, you always raise your hand. In this case, you show up on the call. Welcome.
Well, there you go. We're done. I guess my work here is done. So my station is not inside my house. So to reboot the router and get the network back, I had to run in the house and then wait for it to go through all that gyrations. Anyway, so next Sunday morning at like 3 a.m, I'll leave my house and go to Pittsburgh and then New York and then to St. Kitts, where I'll be joining N2NT and K4ZW. We're going to do kind of a poor men's multi-single where we only have 2 radios and 3 guys, and see what we can do. Hopefully the station will still be there, that we haven't had any real big hurricanes or tropical storms. So, but you never know until you drive up the hill what exactly you're going to find that needs work. And so anyway, something to look forward to. Although I have to admit, I've been doing so much station building over the last 8 weeks. The thought of going somewhere to rebuild a station just has no attraction whatsoever. But it's always fun down there. We'll be I think probably the only contest station from V4 this time. So you got to find us if you want them all.
So, Randy, in a case like that, do you leave the clothes at home and just pack spare parts in your luggage?
Well, we're bringing radios and batteries and tape and I don't know, whatever. Andy gave us a shopping list and said, go bring this stuff, because every time you come down is a chance to get some more supplies into the station. Although this little blockhouse that we operate from is already full of all kinds of stuff. So it's kind of hard to believe you can fit more in there, but that's just the nature of the game, because we can't go to, I guess nobody can go to Radio Shack anymore, but we're not going to find any electronics parts or things, so it's MacGyver time if anything is broken. But at the same time, we're 1,000 feet above sea level, looking out towards Europe and North America, and nothing but ocean and clouds, so it's worth the trip.
So, Randy, as I said, we were just ready to wrap up, but since you worked so hard to get here, do you have any final comments for us or questions?
Well, I hope conditions are good. They certainly were good in the RIDI contest, and it'll be 28 days later. What we saw in the teletype contest was the first day was fantastic. Then we had kind of a lull on Sunday morning, and then it came roaring back again. So it's just a question of kind of where the disturbance falls in during the contest weekend. There is the CQDX Marathon Sprint going on, so there's a deal for you can go to the DX Marathon website, but for 2 weeks, the goal is to work as many DXCC countries as you can, and then they have a way to submit your your log, and they'll count it all up. So there's another contest wrapped around this one that's all about DXing. So no excuse for DXers not to work V4 or CQ9 or ZF1, I guess.
So we'll let you have the final word, Randy. Thank you. My name is Kevin, W1DED. This has been Q5 Ham Radio with the Contest Crew 73.